I figured my drawing of Mr. Badass himself, Captain Levi, would be appropriate given the content of this episode and all of the awesome ass-kicking ninja-like stuff that this guy is doing. So, hopefully you like it.
Attack on Titan, Episode 22, The Defeated.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as usual, am Jim, here to, I almost forgot my own name, am here to bring you another review, an episodic review on the awesome and just really, action-packed and just happy, sad, depressing, just everything in between tale of Attack on Titan, Shingeki no Kyojin. In our last episode, really was very somber as we saw all of Levi's squad, except for Levi, of course, being decimated and killed in brutal fashion by the female Titan. Eren transformed into a Titan and wound up, after a pretty hard-fought battle, wound up getting his head kicked off and actually ripped out of his Titan body and swallowed or held in the mouth or whatever it is, whatever she's doing, of the female Titan. Mikasa went batshit crazy. She just started going nuts, ultimately slowed down the female Titan, was kind of going for the jugular, but Levi came in, swooped in, and basically said, hey, let's maintain our distance and stay behind. It looks like she's running out of gas, so he's going to be more strategic about it. So that's where the episode left off. That's where this one picks up, and really my head is still just kind of spinning from the events of the last episode. So this one keeps the pedal to the metal, you know what I mean? Just keeps it floored throughout definitely the first part or the first half of the episode, and this is where we truly get to see a little bit of Levi and why he is the badass that he is. So Mikasa and him, they're following behind, and he of course had asked Mikasa if Eren was alive at the end of last episode, and left us to be continued, as they like to do with the cliffhangers. Mikasa goes and says, yes, he's alive, and and Levi says, how would you know that? He could be that she swallowed him. He's in his stomach, or he's in her stomach, and he's dead. We should assume that he's dead. And she goes, no, he's alive. She's like, she went through all that trouble when she could have just crushed him, of actually tearing him out of the body, the corpse, whatever, of the Titan form, and then putting him in her mouth. So, and then she's trying to escape now. So the whole deal is Mikasa believes that this female Titan is trying to capture and take Eren. So regardless of what her motivations are, we wind up seeing Levi. Levi says, all right, listen, I'm going to go and strike this thing and start to, we're just going to basically, we got to get Eren back, okay? Let's stop worrying about trying to kill the thing here. That's not even an option anymore. Let's just try to get Eren back. That's what we're going to bet everything on, and I need you to distract it. So Mikasa goes and kind of comes around, flying low and around, kind of trying to get the female Titan's attention. But the female Titan's still chucking, man, like she's at a track meet. She's... And this is cool because Levi goes, and as he's approaching, he's kind of like in slow motion, anime style, and he's coming up and he's getting in position, and you see her face, and you see his face, and you see her face, and back and forth a couple of times. And then all of a sudden, it's like she knows that he's there, right? And she goes and just backhand him, swing her arm back, because she's still running, not breaking stride. She swings her arm back, and Levi goes into this crazy fucking, I don't even know how to describe it. It's something like just straight out of like a fighting action game, like something like some crazy ninja does, because he just goes with his swords out, just goes and spins like 40 times, end over end, up her freaking arm, man. I mean, just like little razor blades, just, and you just see this blood spurting out as he's going up her arm. And then as he gets towards the top, he's like, and then he goes and he circles around her with this magical speed that, can only be described as like Roadrunner-like speed, man. He's, and he just fucking, and he's going up and down her body and slashing and back and forth and slashing. And it's just really cool how it's depicted, because the speed in which it happens, you're just thinking, my God, when that boy comes out of that, he is going to be dizzy. He's going to throw up, because nobody can spin that fast. Now, I get it that it's, fictional, and obviously it's this anime, so they're going to depict these crazy type of things, but this guy is supposed to just be a normal human that just happens to be really good at killing Titans. He's not some kind of superhero type character that we know of, imbued with powers of flight and, super speed or anything like that. But it sure looks like it in this scene, man. It's really, really cool. And he winds up, like I said, just up and down and back and forth and just slashing the shit out of it. And eventually what winds up happening, because then the Titan's trying to protect the back of its neck, of course, thinking, you know, as it starts getting damaged. And he's just going up and down and back and forth, left and right. And I mean, just shearing off parts of this, you know. So he winds up weakening it enough to where, you know, it's just kind of just like slumps over and her arms drop down and she's just kind of like slumped over like this, you know. Mikasa goes and sees that as the opportunity that she needs. She's like, oh, the neck is exposed, right? And Mikasa, even though she already attacked once and it hardened up or whatever, I think she's thinking that it's basically like weak and debilitated and kind of like in this trance stage where it's not going to be able to do it. So Mikasa goes, and even though he said don't do that, she goes for the back of the neck. As she goes for the back of the neck, the Titan goes and, of course, becomes aware and is going to get it. Levi goes and tries to push her out of the way, like get her out of the way and save her at the same time. When he does that and he kind of like bounces off, it looks like he like twists his ankle or maybe breaks his leg or something. We don't see any bone or hear any crack, but there's like this kind of like this look. He winces, you know, so I don't know if he like twisted his ankle as he did this. Whatever the case may be. Mr. Badass himself, though, then goes and comes across the front of her face. Because remember, she's just kind of slumped over now, like in a catatonic daze, right? And he has just completely fucked her up beyond all recognition. I mean, there's steam coming from everywhere. And she was running out of juice to begin with, you know, from what we could tell. But he winds up going and coming across and just goes and slashes the fuck out of her face. And pieces of her mouth just start flying open. And then we see Eren just kind of in this little, like, I mean, it almost looks like a spider web, egg sac type, but it's basically just supposed to be like saliva, right? And he goes and, you know, and Mikasa's like, oh, Eren! You know, and Levi goes and, you know, kind of jumps over there, grabs him, pulls him out, you know, and she's just like, and he's like, I think he's okay. Filthy, but he should be okay. We're going to retreat now, you know, just leave it be. So he goes and takes off into the woods. Mikasa takes a look back at the female Titan before she takes off, and the female Titan is just sitting there, I mean, just slumped over against this tree and just looks just completely foobarred, just no good, right? Like she just got schooled. So if there's some measure of retribution for all the loss of life that we've had so far on this expedition and over the last couple of episodes, it would be that we finally get to truly see Levi in some action against this female Titan, and it was very, very cool. So that's really the kind of center point to the whole, you know, the whole episode, right? The next part, it then goes and it gets a little bit somber. It shows everybody, of course, is now out of the woods and has regrouped. The Survey Corps has, and it shows them kind of loading up their dead bodies. There is 4 or 5 soldiers that aren't accounted for, their bodies, and of course they know they're dead, but Commander Erwin says, you know what, just list them as MIA. You know, that type of stuff happens. We come back all the time with dead people and no bodies to show for it, you know, so it's not like it's out of the ordinary. And this one guy, Dieter, I think his name is, he goes and he kind of pipes up and he says, no, we can't do that. I'm from, and he's basically just emotional. It was his buddy. They were from the same town. They came up together. They went through, to get into the Corps together, right? And he just can't accept it that this guy's body is not going to be, getting retrieved. Levi comes and tries to calm down. Basically, just says, "Listen, he's dead is dead. Okay, whether you have the body or not, they're not going to become undead just because you have the body. They're not going to come back to life, is what I mean." And basically just tells him, "Follow your orders." That's what Erwin's decision is. So they go and everybody's getting along and they're going in the wagons and you kind of see Jean and Armin having they've become a little bit closer and you see them talking amongst themselves about the mission and if it was such a failure and how this could have happened and then you kind of see Connie talking with Sasha, and he's like, yeah, and he's like, when am I going to die? And she's like, no, but you're still alive. And he's like, yeah, but, can you really go and say that in front of all these, dead comrades and soldiers and friends of ours and what have you? I mean, that how long am I alive for, So there's a lot of that somber moment type of stuff. Then as everybody gets going, and of course they have bodies loaded on the dead bodies loaded on the wagons, not the dead wagons, and I get a little amped up sometimes. Sorry about that. But so everybody goes taking off in their formation, and the next thing you know, there is 2 Titans just coming bearing down on them. And it's funny because one of them is like running, using their arms like you do when you run, right? And the other one almost looks like it's in a straitjacket because its arms are just like this, and it's like and just running doing this goofy ass thing. And some of these ones, especially these aberrant ones, are really goofy to me, especially because of the stupid look on their faces. So these things are coming after him, and then it goes and it kind of pans down from like their faces down, to see their whole body in the ground, and we see this dipshit Dieter who's got the dead body of his homie Ivan, his buddy that he didn't want to leave with him. At least that's what it looks like. And he's going right, and he winds up going and getting swiped at by one of the Titans. The Titan winds up getting the body. The next swipe or whatever winds up getting him and scooping him up. One of his other buddies dies in the process. And while this is all going on, Mikasa is coming up. Mikasa goes, and right as Dieter gets picked up, off his horse, and the Titan's going to go to eat him or whatever, Mikasa, she's still got a lot of pent-up aggression, right? Because she wanted to be the one to take down the big bitch, the female Titan, because, she's got the hots for Eren. They got more than a good connection going there, or at least she thinks that. So she's like his protector, his mommy, whatever. So she's still got a lot of pent-up aggression. She goes coming flying off her horse and just takes this thing out, and slumps to the ground. She saves Dieter, But there's other Titans that are coming because obviously this has attracted them, and they're coming after him. And what winds up happening is as they're going there and the Titans are starting to gain on the wagons, they know they're not going to be able to outrun them. There's no real good area to fight right now because they're on flat ground. There's no buildings around or anything. They're headed back towards. They're retreating, so they're headed back towards to get inside Wall Maria. And Levi just says, you know what, we're going to have to dump some bodies. We're just going to have to dump some of the bodies. Plenty of times we've not had bodies in the past. That's what he winds up saying to them. And they're like, really, are we doing this? And they start tossing bodies. And one of the bodies is Petra. And like I said, Petra was a favorite of mine. I think a fan favorite as well. And we kind of see her in her just soft features and her just cute little face. And her body's just being tossed overboard. And then there's an exchange later on, and once they slow down, once they've outrun the Titans, and then they kind of regroup later on to figure out which way they're going and everything. There's an exchange where Dieter, goes and apologizes to Levi for what he did because he knows he attracted the Titans by doing that. And Levi goes and he has Ivan's patch, and he says, "Yeah, just so you know that it's not that I don't care." So I thought it was kind of a cool moment that happened there. The episode, like I said, just kind of had slowed down at that point. There was, of course, some action there while they were trying to get away. But then they go and they regroup. They're going to go and leave out, and they're going to get back to, try to get back. So now keep in mind, they just left this morning, okay? So this is like, even though this has been like 4, 5, 6 episodes, they just left this morning, okay? And now they're coming back in the late afternoon or early evening. We go and then we see from Eren's perspective, he's laying there on a wagon and, of course, is unconscious at the time. And he goes into kind of like a dream sort of flashback from when him and Mikasa 5 years ago, before the Colossal Titan first broke through, when they ran to see, because the bells were ringing and the Survey Corps was back. And then remember they were the heroes have arrived, and they got there and a lot of people were bad-mouthing them because they always go out and they come back all beaten and their ranks decimated, right? And it was just kind of this flashback where, he saw that happening again in his mind. And then he goes and he kind of all of a sudden comes to, and they're the Survey Corps coming back battered, broken, minus several people because they've, sustained heavy casualties. And of course, many people don't understand. Why do you go out and do this? Have you guys learned anything? Are we going to be able to defeat the Titans now? Everybody's, of course, antsy for that. And they just keep coming back with less people. So clearly you can understand it from both sides of the coin. But he winds up, Eren over here, somebody going and talking about, yeah, our tax dollar is good at work again. And even though he's just kind of half out of it, and Mikasa's on the wagon now with him, hovering over him like a little mother hen and talking, he goes and pulls himself up, and because, he's going to say something or he's going to do something. As he pulls himself up and sees, though, he winds up seeing two wide-eyed kids, a boy and a girl, blonde hair, so they're a little bit different than him and Mikasa with the darker hair. But he thinks back to how they were back then, because the one kid's like, oh man, they're the Survey Corps. Boy, they got their butts kicked, but they keep on fighting, And he sees that there's still hope for that. So that was kind of the whole thing with that as far as I was concerned. There's also an exchange that's fairly heartfelt where we see Petra's father walk up. And prior to them getting into the town, you see the this was gut-wrenching because you see the families of all the Levi squad that got killed. And you see like Eldo's family and like the mother's holding a little baby. And she's like, oh yeah, go, the Survey Corps is back. And they don't know Eldo's dead, of course, And they're like, oh, maybe Eldo will be able to have time to come home and Oahu and... and Gunther's going to be back. And it shows these different families over this minute or two segment. And it's really just heart-wrenching and tear-jerking because you're like, they don't even know. They don't even know that they died. And a lot of people probably feel like they died for nothing, and didn't accomplish anything. Then we go and we see, as Levi and them are walking in, of course, they're being berated by some of the people, but we see this guy walk up or ride up on his horse and start talking to Levi, and it's Petra's father. And he's like, and Petra wrote me a letter about you and about how you let her join the squad and this and that. And then he goes on to say something about how, but I think she's too young to be married and everything else. So I don't know if there was something between Petra and Levi, because he kind of keeps giving these longing looks to her as he saw her dead and her body fly off and everything else. So maybe there was something going on with them. It's not real clear. I'm just assuming that there is by the way the father was talking, or maybe the father had it wrong and Petra was just kind of enamored with Levi and his squad and did anything she could to get into his squad, because in the hopes that she would, you know, that she would gain his fondness, right, and he'd be attracted to her. I don't know. But it's worth noting, though, because Levi just keeps walking the whole time and doesn't say anything. And I don't know if it's that he's just stern and doesn't want to say it to the father or break the news to him, or if he just doesn't have the heart to tell him that, I'm sorry, your daughter didn't make it back. I mean, she got smashed against the side of a fucking tree by a 50-foot female titan. You know, that's kind of hard to come out with. So the episode ends shortly after that, as the camera's panning out, you know, of course, and they're just kind of marching into there with, you know, all their broken and dead bodies or that they have left, and the injuries and everything else. Everybody's pretty much messed up. We see them talking about the heavy casualties. We see people talking about, why didn't this happen? Why didn't that happen? And ultimately what happens is, I guess, Erwin gets called to the Capitol to, you know, basically talk about this mission and, you know, and explain what the hell happened. And then it says at the end of it, right before it goes to the to be continued, it's like, and they decided, and it was decided that Eren was going to be turned over. And I thought, turned over? Turned over to who? Are they going to turn him back over to the government, the military police? I guess we'll have to watch the next one to find out. My episode question, though, brothers and sisters, is what do you think of the Survey Corps? I mean, I could argue for it either way. They go out, they come back, they don't seem to have a lot more knowledge or have learned much or accomplished much of anything, but a lot of people got killed, and that seems to be a trend with them. So weigh in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching you in the next one, Nation.
Remember, brothers and sisters, to share, subscribe, spread the word of the nation to others, and of course, if you like watching the videos, you know, watching them is always much appreciated. Have a nice day.